time now for another exciting episode of Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics. And this Wednesday also happens to be New Year's Eve. So, I'm just going to take a look at Geiger because all throughout the year, it said it's independent comics are where it's at. The two main comic book companies just don't bring it anymore. And, DC does a little better than, a lot better than Marvel in a lot of ways, but there's still probably, I don't know, their surprise better title was Aquaman of all things. Stuff like that. The Absolute line, interesting, but I'm not all that wowed by it. The Absolute Wonder Woman title is the best out of that. But over at Millarworld or Millerverse or whatever, and I'll have a little story on that. It's a little unfortunate, but nevertheless, Mark Millar's work. And then there's Jeff Johns over at Ghost Machine. And a lot of the titles that he's been producing are excellent. But my favorite of the batch is Geiger, which I guess really started because he started Geiger onto its own and then restarted it for this Ghost Machine thing. And I've been following it all the way through and catching up on doing reviews and whatnot. There's 3 issues here of the latest of Geiger. So, issue 17, after the events of what happened in the culmination of him finding the other glowing one, a glowing woman. Yeah, she looks a lot nice. Anyway, in order to save people or whatever, he absorbed a lot of the nuclear energy and power. This would have helped her be rid of the radioactive powers, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to just let him go. So, oh boy, it was a big eruption. And oh no, no more Geiger, huh? Well, not so fast. So, of course, the Knight, the 2-headed dog, and the would-be assassin, and their zebra pal come upon what happened here. And, of course, the doctor figures it out. And the dogs, they're pretty sure they know what became of him. And, of course, he didn't evaporate or anything. He was flung far away over here, and he gets discovered by a group of mysterious riders. Oh, no, what even the horse is wearing masks. Well, there's a reason for it, yeah. So there you go with that one. It says police. Oh, why is that? Well, you'll have to read and find out. But yes, he did survive the ordeal. So what happened? Well, look at this. What's going on? So the next issue, he gets the chair. So it's a prison. How's that happen? What the hell? It's a post-apocalyptic landscape and all that, but you'll have to read and figure this out. But he ends up being sentenced to death after, things happen here. Whoops. And he ends up in the chair, but it's all a nefarious plot. And, of course, other players come into this and what have you. But as a result, guess what happens when a radioactive man that's depleted gets electrocuted? You might be able to figure that one out. But that's the deal. Now, I had a guest artist, but a very good one. Very, very good. Ghost Machine's been very consistent with that. And when you have someone on the excellence of Gary Frank, you're going to want someone who can fill in that's at least on par with that. And certainly did that here. So, Eduardo Panseca, I guess, probably getting that wrong, but nevertheless. And then Brad Anderson, I believe he did the next one or the previous one. I can't remember. But anyway, it's great. And, you know, you get all the possible bang for your buck. So as I said, yes, the glowing lady does glow much prettier than Geiger himself. But nevertheless, we turn back to her. Hey, what became of her? Well, she's back to dealing out her form of justice to evildoers in this post-apocalyptic world. Here's these kids being kidnapped and sold like she was before she got her nuclear powers, you know, and so she's gonna free them and all that. And hey, what did she do to the kidnappers? Well, yeah, you can use your imagination to figure that out. There she is, smashing into the front. Gee, I wonder what happened to this. So anyway, the pages are going backwards. I wonder why. I guess I needed to go this way. There's the cover. Gary Frank returns for this one, and it's just great all around. Oh, I'm sorry, I was confusing Brad Anderson with Brent Anderson, I believe, but the other guy was the fill-in artist. Sorry about that. So it's basically just a bit of a vignette on her and what she's up to since the big story arc came to a close, and she's decided to you know, go nuclear on these a-holes who traffic in children. Sure, society has collapsed. It's all in ruins, or it is in this vicinity. There's some insinuations here and there that there's still a functioning society elsewhere. But until the overall world is explored, we won't really know for sure. So anyway, it's once again, yeah, Gary Frank's art. It's very well drawn, and spectacular visuals within the title. And so, yeah, Geiger it started off the Ghost Machine run and everything, and it remains, I think, the best. This differentiates from other reviews I've seen. Redcoat's impressive. Rook is, I mean, all the artwork. These are top-notch artists, and they're all, got their own rather original, interesting narratives within them. And now Redcoat is optioned for a film. Will it come to fruition? Well, I don't know, but it's underway. And I would have thought Geiger would be the one to go with first. And initially I thought, well, maybe Geiger's a little expensive. But Redcoat would be very expensive too, considering it's, multiple time periods and all that stuff. And all the periods that you would have to recreate and whatnot. Whereas a science fiction run probably might be, since it's very stable with this post-apocalyptic environment. Obviously, you got the Fallout series going, and utilize the volume room filming and that sort of thing. Probably could pull off a film and or series on Geiger, and it would do well. But then again, like what necessitates a period piece and whatnot for the likes of Redcoat might be a little more. So I don't know. Well, but for whatever reason, that's the one that got optioned for it. Jeff Johns is still very much interested in the world of film and television and all that. Probably his one success that I would think in that medium was the Stargirl show. It didn't do well, but it was a cute, sweet little show. And it was good, but at first it was a vehicle for the DC streaming service they tried to do. It's hard to believe that actually happened, but they did, and they had all these shows lined up for it, And then those just got folded into HBO Max, which, made a little more sense for that. And that's how that went. But Stargirl was the show he was working on after his attempts to become the Kevin Feige of DC, taking over the DCEU, and of course all the shenanigans that went on there. It didn't turn out great. I think his first foray was working on the Green Lantern film, and of course that bombed. So, yeah, quite a few stumbles in that medium. Whereas his comics usually are pretty good. He's had some misses here and there. The Three Jokers, I didn't think that really just fizzled, in my opinion. Doomsday Clock was interesting. Had a lot of cool elements to it, but it too kind of fizzles. So, but his own stuff, his creator-owned books here, pretty damn good. And I'd have to hand it to it that Ghost Machine and Geiger overall is probably the best series that I came through, possibly at times being toppled by Conan the Barbarian over at Titan. But I think Geiger in a way edges it out in that it's been incredibly consistent throughout the run so far. So there you go for 2025. I gotta give, if I had awards or anything for Comic of the Year or something like that, I guess it would. I would go with Geiger, in my humble opinion. So there you have it. The three most recent issues of Geiger, closing out the year of 2025, and probably. I think so. There's already been arcs of it in collected edition. Would certainly recommend that. And if this intrigues you at all, that Geiger is one to keep an eye out for. And I do recommend checking it out. Now, right now, I haven't been reading any recent titles of Mark Millar, or Mark Miller. I never know. Way people say it differently. But anyway, the last one was the conclusion to the Magic Order, and which was optioned for Netflix because he had that Netflix deal. But apparently that's probably not going to happen. It seems, since due to the failure of Jupiter's Legacy show. Yeah, that's probably coming to an end, and Mark Miller is looking elsewhere for potential movies and television or what have you. It's a damn shame because something like certainly the Magic Order and Nightclub, I think, would be a no-brainer, but I guess that ship has sailed, perhaps. But anyway, I did a whole video on that, so let's take a look at that story. Has Netflix quietly pulled the plug on its Millarworld deal with Kick-Ass and Civil War writer Mark Millar? Probably. It's unfortunate, but yeah, probably. They're probably thinking, hey, we're going to have DC, so we don't need your knockoff superheroes. Unless Paramount steals it from out from under them, But anyway, in 2017, the news broke that Netflix had acquired Mark Millar's Millarworld imprint. The promise at the time was that Netflix and Millar would bring Millarworld's portfolio of critically and fan-acclaimed character franchises to life through films, series, and kids' shows available exclusively to Netflix members globally. Over 8 years later, and all the deal is delivered is Jupiter's Legacy, which was canceled after one season. A quickly forgotten anime version of Super Crooks, and a 6-episode adaptation of American Jesus titled The Chosen One. While the Magic Order, Nightclub, Huck, Empress, Prodigy, and Sharky the Bounty Hunter have all been reported to be in development at one time or another. None of them have materialized as comics published by either Image or more recently Dark Horse. These titles have found success, but never quite managed to reach the same heights as Millar's earlier creator-owned works, Kick-Ass, Kingsman, and Nemesis. Yeah, it's unfortunate because his comics are excellent. They're really good. I didn't read these three, but Nightclub and Magic Quarter are great, and they both of them would make great shows. I don't know. The Jupiter's Legacy thing, it was interesting. It wasn't as good as the comic book, and they did kind of a combination of the stories, but really the second book series out of that, which was Jupiter's Circle, that one, that's the one they should have adapted. It's like Mad Men meets superheroes. That would have been a much cooler show. But they tried to merge them sort of with the narrative of the overall story, but oh well, what are you going to do? It's unfortunate, but it didn't work out. So, unfortunately for Netflix, the rights to those are, Magic Order, Kick-Ass, Kingsman, and Nemesis. Unfortunately for Netflix, the rights to those are tied up elsewhere, and it appears the streamer's deal with the Ultimate Civil War and Superman Red Sun Scribe has quietly ended. Bleeding Cool reports that Millar renamed his company Dave and Eggsy Limited to Mark Millar Productions Ltd. back in January. Good Lord, a year ago. His newer comic book projects, Psychic Sam and Conquered, appear to fall under that banner, rather than the Netflix-owned Millarworld. And there may be a good reason for that. Millar has frequently talked about launching his own movie studio and also teased the possibility of returning to Marvel and DC. It seems the Netflix deal didn't pan out as he likely hoped, as the slate of live-action projects we expected to see on the platform came to nothing. Similar to Zack Snyder's lucrative Netflix deal that fell apart when the expensive Rebel Moon movies bombed. It's actually supposed to only be one movie, but there's so many cuts of it. It's possible that Jupiter's Legacy left the streamer uncertain that movies and TV shows based on Millar's work would be a draw to subscribers. It was a pricey series and drew largely negative reviews. That's a shame, particularly when so much of the Scottish writer's work is well suited for the screen. Yeah, he's really good. He right now is one of the best comic book writers. I don't know, just. Yeah, I mean, he's had better luck translating than Jeff Johns did, who's also probably one of the better ones with his Ghost Machine titles. But his attempts at movies just poof. He had some better luck with the Stargirl show. I mean, it didn't do well, but writing wise, it was a cute little show, you know. But whatever. Kick-Ass and Kingsman have also seemingly been shelved as film properties after their most recent installments underwhelmed. So a return to either one of his former employers could be what's needed to get the writer behind many of their best and controversial stories from the 2000s back on the map. Oh, that's it? Okay, well, it's probably a little too late for how bad things have gotten for DC and Marvel. But given carte blanche, he could certainly renovate those entities. He probably, I don't know which one he would want. I mean, Superman, he could totally turn that around. Batman, he could. Even Wonder Woman. Hell, he could do it all. You know, right now, Marvel is way worse than DC, but DC, It's not great. So I guess there's that, provided any of those entities exist at all in any form or fashion. But it's a shame that a lot of his projects, especially like like Magic Order, that would have been a cool show. But I guess it's not happening. Well, it appears a funny thing has happened over at Marvel Comics. They're ditching Captain Marvel. Higher, further, forgotten. That was, higher, further, faster or something. I forget what it was. Anyway, look, they're giving her old suit. So Marvel Comics is quietly walking things back. In a newly announced limited series, a full ongoing series was never really in the cards. They kept trying, but, Carol Danvers is returning to her original identity as Ms. Marvel, complete with the classic look Marvel once abandoned. The move comes after years of pushing Captain Marvel front and center across comics and the MCU, a push that clearly failed to stick. The irony isn't subtle. Marvel's own tagline for the series says it all. Oh, I thought that was a joke. Higher, further, forgotten. See, they even tried to give her like a Sergeant Pepper jacket. Yeah. See, this one was always better. Now, her first one was cute, too, the suit she had, but this is the one everyone mostly remembers, Yeah. So anyway, Carol Danvers was Ms. Marvel for decades before Marvel rebranded her as Captain Marvel. The original plan inside Marvel was reportedly to bring back the real Captain Marvel during Secret Invasion, restoring the legacy properly. That plan was scrapped because that would mean bringing a man. The original was the man to the character. You just can't do that. Anyway, instead, Marvel elevated Carol Danvers into the Captain Marvel role and then introduced Kamala Khan as the new Ms. Marvel. The change synced up perfectly with Disney's MCU's strategy, which positioned Brie Larson's Captain Marvel as their planned cornerstone character. Well, that strategy didn't age well. Now, sorry, girls, it just didn't work, Captain Marvel grossed $1 billion at the box office, but the timing did most of the work. That's right. The movie was sandwiched between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, riding peak MCU momentum. Yeah, and don't give me this crap. Hey, Ant-Man 2 was in between there too. Yeah, that doesn't work because Infinity War ended on a teaser for Captain Marvel. Pretty much insinuating, you got to watch Captain Marvel before you go to Endgame, because you'll be lost. What is this? You got to find out. And then turns out, you didn't need to watch it at all. I mean, she shows up in Endgame, but yeah. So once that momentum vanished, reality set in. The Marvel, starring both Brie Larson as Captain Marvel and Iman Vellani as Ms. Marvel, became the worst performing MCU film at the box office. It wasn't close. The audience simply didn't show up. The DP Ms. Marvel series didn't fare any better, although it's a good show. It's actually a very good show. But yeah, no one was interested. Nobody from the comics liked the Kamala Khan character. Another tokenized, exploited for skin and genitals character thrown in there. And if you didn't like her, then you were all kinds of phobe, And so that was the deal, and that's that. So the poor show never had a chance, even though it was pretty good. The Marvels, hell, no. It wasn't any good. So same for Marvel Zombies. Viewership was weak and interest dropped fast. Marvel tried to force a new status quo and fans rejected it across the board. Yeah, you can't just throw it out there. You got to build on that. And these legacy characters that were just slapped together with names like that and thrown in there. It's too bad. The actress who plays Kamala Khan is very nice, and she's got a charm about her, and she was good in the show. No one saw it. You know, you just can't force these things. And once people get a whiff and they think it's going to be this woke lecture, sermon and all that, they're not going to show up. They'll never know that it wasn't really there. Because you keep doing this to people. You keep using them this way. Now, for Kamala Khan, they need to retcon her to give her her own superhero name and stuff like that and go from there. Plus, the TV show did it better with the powers. She doesn't stretch and stuff. It just always looked kind of goofy. I don't know. And they weren't making her a comical character. I mean, there was, silly kid stuff in the stories and the comics and whatnot. And I mean, she is a funny character in the TV show, but she has better powers in it. So I guess try to make it more like that. But the deal's done. She was never a star character. And you ruined any chances for her to catch on because you just used her to lecture and preach at people and call them racist, misogynist, whatever. Yeah. So they say, yeah, no, thank you. And that's that. See, look at that's a better suit. It just is. But Ms. Marvel was always, she worked best as a team member of the Avengers in the good old days, and that's about it. They tried, even before the woke era, to get her her own series going, and there was some runs that were okay. You had Frank Cho doing some art on her. That's particularly good to look at. But ultimately, just didn't catch on. Couldn't hold her on. And that's just the way it is. So now Marvel Comics is hitting reverse. Probably too late. But anyway, Captain Marvel, Dark Past is a 5-issue limited series that sends Carol Danvers back to her days as Ms. Marvel. The story digs into lost memories, buried secrets, and a past Marvel once tried to erase. So the official synopsis leans hard into nostalgia and regret. Carol is forced to confront her time as Ms. Marvel, embarrassed that, her butt cheeks hung out of her suit and stuff like that, after a new threat exposes a dark family secret tied to her forgotten history. The message is clear. The past still matters, even if Marvel tried to move on. Well, are they going to deal with that story where she got mind controlled by this weird, creepy perv guy, and he took her away to another dimension, but she was forced to be his wife and stuff, and then she finally escaped, and she was mad at the other Avengers. They didn't come rescue her, and they said, well, we thought you were in love with the guy. And he said, no, he mind controlled me. And they're like, oh, whoops. So, I mean, yeah, you can understand her being really pissed off about that. You could do that, but I don't know. They've retconned her so many ways, and now she's actually, she's not even human anymore. She's also a member of the Kree. When the original origin was, it was some weird shenanigans where, Marvel's DNA merged with hers, and she got the powers, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so who the hell knows what this is about? You want to know what a dark secret about her past is? When she murdered Tony Stark, and she became a fascist and turned Kamala Khan into a member of her Carol Danvers youth, No? No. But yeah, she did that. But don't worry, they cloned him, so he's still alive. But he isn't. The clone is just a clone. Did they time warp that and fix it? Anyway, and yes, the classic Ms. Marvel costume is back as well. Maybe we'll see Brie Larson sporting the suit of the MCU. Well, if her Instagram pictures are any clue, she seems like she wouldn't mind. She does love showing off her butt. And she does have one. When they don't dress her up in a man's, suit Yeah, she's got a nice little booty. Anyway, the series is written by Paul Jenkins, returning to Marvel alongside his upcoming Century project with art by Lucas Wernick. Jenkins openly acknowledges Carol's long history as Ms. Marvel, Warbird, and Binary, but come on, Ms. Marvel's the better name than those other two. Calling it rich material worth revisiting and also seeing if there's any interest. I guess I'll have to check this out. If it's any good at all, I'll give it some praise. I don't think it matters. I think Marvel's done. But, had they done this 5 years ago, it might have helped out. Yeah? And, and it's, people like this version. It's outsold the other crappy, Captain Marvel titles. But anyway, Marvel can spin this as a character study all they want. But the timing says more than the press release ever could. After years of pushing Captain Marvel and Kamala Khan, Marvel is once again betting on the version of Carol Danvers fans actually supported. Well, again, they supported her as a supporting character of the Avengers. And eventually the X-Men with the whole Rogue thing and all that. But carrying her own book, she never really did. I mean, for a while here and there, but, she was never going to reach the heights of Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. But, better off being Ms. Marvel than Captain Marvel. And that's true. By the way, the whole embarrassing thing was the actual first female Captain Marvel was a black woman in the 80s. Monica Rambeau. And they suddenly, cool shit. And they hardly, forced her into the story and shoehorned her into the Marvels. Too late. All their preaching and stuff. And you forgot the woman of color. That's hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'll look at it. Can't promise anything, though. Creature Commandos Season number 2 will reportedly debut one of DC's strongest heroes. Gee, I wonder who it could be. It's Captain Atom. Rumors suggest that one of DC Universe's strongest and most powerful heroes will debut in DC Studios' Creature Commandos Season 2. While the new season is still a ways out from debuting, DC Studios is quickly building out Creature Commandos' lineup after an exciting Season 1 on HBO Max. Well, it was a much better show than Peacemaker Season number 2. That was horrible. Creature Commandos had its problems, but it had some interesting stuff too. Now, so will second season take a number 2 like Peacemaker? I don't know. A new rumor noted that DC Studios is set to introduce Captain Atom in Creature Commandos Season number 2, shared by Nexus Point News. Captain Atom will be one of several new characters who will make their DC Universe debuts this season. Set to be a recurring character, provided it goes anywhere, DC Studios will introduce the Nathaniel Atom version. It was Nathaniel Adams, it wasn't it? Anyway, version of Captain Atom who debuted in DC Comics in Captain Atom number 1 from 1987. Well, no. He debuted in Carlton Comics way back in the 60s. So, got that wrong. But I suppose you could argue the DC Comics version of him, which is pretty much intact, when he made his debut in 1987 following Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I guess technically that's true, but anyway. He is an Air Force veteran who fought in the Vietnam War, and he is sent decades into the future after getting his superpowers. I think they've changed that a time or two. I mean, originally he was testing, wasn't it an alien spaceship? And he'd actually gotten court-martialed or something like that. And I forget. And so either he volunteered or he had to do it. I can't remember when they tested the ship with him as a pilot for it or what have you. And as a result, he got his atomic powers. Anyway, along with a body coated in a metallic substance, his powers include flight, super strength, invulnerability, energy absorption, matter generation. Wow. That's the power of God, and other abilities of a nuclear nature. Sure. As of writing, there are no rumors indicating who will play Nathaniel Adam, Captain Atom, ahead of his eagerly awaited arrival. In DC Comics, he ranks as one of the company's most powerful heroes ever, with abilities that even outclass Superman, previously regarded as the most powerful metahuman on Earth. Creature Commandos Season 1 was DC Studios' first release in the new DC universe. Yeah, it was already in the works before it was decided there would be a DCU, but nevertheless, yeah, it was the first official project of DCU. And the series was quickly renewed for season number 2, starring Indira Varma, Sean Gunn, Alan Tudyk, Zoe Chao, David Harbour, and Frank Grillo. The show will pick up with a new team of anti-heroes/villains after defeating Princess Ilana, Rostovik, and Pokalistan. Anyway, DC Studios has not shared a release time frame for Creature Commando season number 2. Yeah. So anyway, there's Captain Atom. Captain Atom is regarded as one of the powerful entities. You've already said that. DC Studios already teased the hero's place in the DCU, as Gunn hinted that a few characters originally introduced in Carlton Comics. There you go. You finally caught up on that. Eventually bought by DC Comics. That's right. When Carlton went belly up, could be on their way to joining this new franchise. In the comics, Captain Atom is, here we go again. Did two people write this? He's described as a sentient energy being, essentially a quantum energy field. This means he can manipulate reality and on a fundamental level, similar to the newly introduced Franklin Richards in the MCU. Emit energy blasts as powerful as a miniature Big Bang, and even control matter, time, and space. So like I said, he's God, you know. Anyway, he was the inspiration for Dr. Manhattan. Do they mention that? You know? And, you know, he was practically God. So there you go. Anyway, considering Captain Atom's potential role in the DCU, the question moving forward is how DC will bring his powers to life in relation to those of his fellow heroes, particularly in an animated setting. There is a chance that he could be a force almost too powerful to overcome. There's many worried about the MCU's Captain Marvel. As he would be the franchise's most powerful new hero to date. Well, I don't know about dating him, but also on the table is who will be cast in this role to bring Captain Atom to life, as it will be his first time appearing in live action after 65 years of history in the comics. Some believe this could be the role Reacher star Alan Rickson is discussing with DC Studios. Yeah, he'd be a good guy to play the role. Yeah. A lot of people are rumoring, thinking he might be the DCU Batman, but maybe it's this. But whoever takes on the role will have to be someone who can showcase the full range of this character's power and emotional baggage. Well, coming out of Reacher, he had, a military background guy and stuff. He kind of could play the same character, really. So, yeah, maybe that's the deal. You know, the thing is, the sad part about it with Peacemaker pooping the bed on the second season, which is also a Carlton character, which this article either saw fit not to print that element of it, of the Carlton characters, or doesn't know this. But anyway, to utilize those characters, within their own little, neighborhood within the DCU. You could have introduced Captain Atom through that. Blue Beetle could come in, maybe like through the HBO Max series. The Blue Beetle story is fleshed out, where you have references to Dan Garrett and depictions of Ted Kord. And then, of course, all of this leads to Jaime Reyes as the third Blue Beetle, and he could be your cinematic Blue Beetle, what have you. There's supposed to be a Blue Beetle cartoon. Haven't heard much about it since its announcement, but that sort of thing. But yeah, that the characters that influenced the Watchmen. I mean, it was going to be them until DC said, "Hey, you're killing off one of the characters. We don't, or two of the characters, really. We kind of want to use them later and stuff. So, all right, we'll just make knockoffs of them." And that's when Captain Atom became Dr. Manhattan and so on. But there's a lot of possibilities there. But I don't know. They just didn't do it. All you get is, of course, Peacemaker. And then a crappy judo master, who's also a Carlton character. But as far as Creature Commandos go, yeah, he's probably in it. He's probably going to be in it, provided they go forward with it. I don't know. It's green lit, but could still be canceled, I suppose. Things just don't look good for DCU at all. And now everything's depending on Supergirl to lift its spirits as it goes up against Spider-Man and Avengers Doomsday and all that. And then Clayface, that's going to come and go. And yeah, I doubt that'll. And even if it did, it's so removed from, a superhero universe thing. It's basically being described as a horror movie. A Batman movie with no Batman. And let's say it's a smash hit, but it's like, oh yeah, the horror fans really liked it. Unless they shoehorn a little end credit scene where Batman shows up in it. Surprise! Maybe that would spark excitement or something. But are they even allowed to do it? No, you got to try to win them over with what you got. If that don't work, well, you know where the door is. Could be. But anyway, yeah, it's probably Captain Atom. All right, there you go. We're all caught up with all things Captain Atom. He should be in the cartoon. Does that mean he'll be in the live action? Well, ordinarily, probably that would have occurred, but I don't think there's going to be a DCU around to worry about that. So whoever they cast to be the voice, does it have to be somebody who matches the physicality of the character? Yeah, probably not, yeah. Det Gross says, good morning, Doug. Well, good morning to you, Det Gross. So I'll take a look at some of these other entities or, to discuss. So I talked about, oh, wait, I got to do it like here, over here. Yeah, no, you gotta put it in the other. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it should work. Gee, I hope so. So here we are at GhostMachinePro.com. So all things you need to know about Ghost Machine are over here. So I just thought I'd do a little tour of it. And right off the bat, they have titles I haven't even read yet. Displayed here. Oh, that takes you right to Image Comics. We don't need to do that. But Image Comics is the publisher of the Ghost Machine titles, but that's essentially, like the distributor, if you will. The studio is Ghost Machine, so all the work is done here. Image is, like I said, the distributor of it. So, and sure enough, there's a hardcover, Volume 2 of Geiger. So there you go. That's available for a cover price of $35. So, probably be the easier bet to than the individuals, but if you want to get it all nice and neatly collected, well, you have the option. You do. So, the Rook Exodus, another great title, science fiction one that takes place on this other planet, where it's a very bizarre story in the sense that these wardens, as they're called, were sent there with these helmets that gave them control over a specific animal. So the main character is called Rook, and he controls these crows, so on and so forth. Each one has a helmet, but they're kind of merging with the animal community because they're in each other's minds and all that. Geiger, of course, as I went over, I still think it's the best of the batch. Hornsby and Halo, I haven't read. Not too familiar with it. Let's take a look here. There you go. It's good art, So it's this angel and a demon who pal around. I don't know, go on magic adventures, I suspect, and that sort of thing. So, they sure do show a lot of it. There you go. I haven't read it, so I can't say entirely how good it is. Rockefellers. That's not Rockefeller. That's Rockefellers. So, read the first issue. It's this, family from the future. They come to the past, and they're being pursued by enemies and stuff like that. So, it's almost like a Space Family Robertson meets Fantastic Four meets Back to the Future or something. Well, time travel, Anyway, that's the deal. This one, Sisterhood, I only recently heard of it, so I'm not familiar with it, but it does spin out of Hyde Street, which I have read, and it's really good. It's this horror series that sort of is structured like the horror anthologies of the past, like Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that. Whereas the host character, like Crypt Keeper or whatever, becomes a regular character. And there's several of them in Hyde Street. So in each story there's a certain character and their story is told and all that. But the sort of host characters, you just got to read it to find out. But their stories are unfolding, and there's a plot between them and that sort of thing. So it's an ongoing and anthology wrapped into one, and now apparently a spinoff called Sisterhood. So, and it's on its 5th issue of that. Good Lord. Ever expanding. Here is the deal. Redcoat is a feature film in development. Oscar-winning producer Charles Roven's Atlas Entertainment and Ghost Machine are developing a Redcoat feature film based on the acclaimed series by Jeff Johns, Brian Hitch. That would be really cool if they're able to pull that off. So here they announce artist Francis Portela becomes a permanent resident of Hyde Street and joins Ghost Machine as an exclusive creator. Ivan Reyes artwork I preferred. But Francis, he's a good artist. It's not bad. But these things happen. But it's a cool title. And so it looks like Jim Lee did a cover with the female, glowing woman. There we have he answers Redcoat. Oh, over here. Well, so there's all kinds of stuff. You could take a tour. So here, Jeff Johns, there's a Q&A there concerning the characters of Redcoat, including the Northerner, who is another time-traveling character who appears in there. Redcoat, of course, doesn't travel through time like time travelers do. He's immortal. So he just keeps on living. Yeah, all throughout American history. So Ghost Machine announces 2 new titles at Comics Pro. The first, Ghost. Yeah, that's another story they've teased about it. The Redcoat and Geiger are in the same universe. And I'm forgetting Junkyard Joe, the army robot. He is. I don't think Hyde Street fits in with that. Yes, I'm human. Brave, come on. I'm in the middle of a live stream. I can't have you doing things like that. So if you would just let... There we go. Oh, I thought you had a bigger picture than that. Well, anyway, there you see. There's Redcoat, if you can squint your eyes and see. Maybe if I... yeah, there we go. Well, yeah, doesn't really do much. There's the Hyde Street characters. The sort of Frankenstein monster guy, the X-ray eyeglasses guy, the 80s aerobics instructor lady, and the psychotic Boy Scout. So that's them. Meanwhile, you have Redcoat himself, Junkyard Joe, the robot soldier. So they have... I don't know if this means... No, I guess not. I don't think the Rockefellers are part of the Geiger world, because basically there's a timeline from Redcoat's period coming out of the American Revolution. Then as you go, Junkyard Joe was used in the military. I don't think in World War II, but they deployed him in Vietnam and stuff like that. And then you go to almost our time, but a little bit in the future, just a couple of years. I guess they'll have to alter that as they go forward. A nuclear war erupted. And so Geiger is in this post-apocalyptic landscape. So it's an interesting take on it. Mostly the zombie genre has dominated that, but now you got like Fallout and stuff like that. Of course, there was Mad Max in the good old days. And so, but it's an interesting take on it where you have something akin of a superhero type character, but it's more of a, post-apocalyptic genre type tale. And there's the Northerner, who is will be getting his own title and what his story is all about. And of course, he's a time traveler. So he's actually from the future, even though he's dressed up in a Union suit from the Civil War. But he's from a time period where I guess the South won the war instead, or something like that. So he comes back in time to put back what once went wrong. And then there you go, Halo and Hornsby. Again, I haven't read that. These are the Rook characters. There's Rook and his girlfriend, the Wolf character. Well, she's the girlfriend, but they haven't exactly committed yet, you know. It's a will they or won't they thing, you know. So there you go. Deluxe hardcovers of the books. Junkyard Joe. He's been featured in Geiger. What? Well, they tease that he's had run-ins with Redcoat because the Redcoat never dies. Of course, he's eventually going to cross over with all of them. But I forget. But anyway, already a collection. So I might as well just go ahead and get the Junkyard Joe collection. Yeah. Now, Blizzard, well, this is brand new to me, but it's Tales of the Unnamed. Whatever that means. Maybe that's the unnamed. He's bleeding. Ew. But anyway, the Blizzard. So, it says, Set in the same world as Geiger and Junkyard Joe, this tale of the unnamed stars Michael Varrati, who was convicted for shooting and killing the man who murdered his son. While being transferred to a high-security prison, a violent blizzard leaves Michael stranded on a Colorado mountain with other convicted felons and transport guards. After witnessing unexplainable visions of their sins, a ferocious monster threatens to tear them all apart in retribution. Collects the entire story of the blizzard as originally published in the Image 30th Anniversary Anthology 1-12. Well, we'll just get the collection then, so it's connected to all this stuff. More stuff from Geiger. See, ooh, he's scary looking. And, yeah, the collections. There you go. See? Volume 3. Or you get this cover. I mean, there you see him, glowing and stuff. Here, you just had this X. I don't know. You'd probably want to go for that one. But, it's up to you. So, collections of Redcoat. There's Redcoat. See? He wears a red. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like the red coat itself. He would have ditched that a long time ago, but well, I don't know. I guess what's the lifespan on those coats? How long did they last after that era? I don't know. But anyway, there's a collections of those, and then Rook, the science fiction spacefaring, it takes place on an alien planet, but other than that, science fiction. It's out there somewhere. And then Hyde Street, full collection. There's X-Ray Man, Mr. X-Ray, with the famed glasses that you used to be able to order out of comic books. It's kind of connected. And a collection of Rocket Fellers. Maybe I'll pick that up too. And then Hornsby and the Halo, written by Peter J. Tomasi. So there you go. That's all the goodies of Ghost Machine, with apparently more on the way. Yeah. Oh, look, you can get Geiger's dog, a two-headed dog. You can get that T-shirt. Wouldn't that be nice? Sure. All right. So I think you're caught up on that. Let me go ahead and get rid of these others. We don't need any of that. But pretty much Ghost Machine for the win. As far... Would you just stop doing that? Oh, good Lord. I guess I'll keep it there then. Yeah, Ghost Machine for the win as far as the year goes and that sort of thing. Conan the Barbarian, hot on his heels, is part of the best consistent and stable and entertaining comic book. Everything else, you'd get some bright spots and spikes here and there, and then they would just fall apart, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. It's all very sad. It is. Alright, here's this other story. It's kind of old. It's almost a month old, but here's the story about the original artist of the Miles Morales Spider-Man, and I'm assuming this is back in the original Ultimate Comics days, but came across it, thought I'd look at it. So despite making billions from Miles Morales, really? Well, I guess with the animated movies, yeah, probably overall, yeah. Anyway, Marvel pays 0 royalties to original artists. The saddest part of my life, says the artist. Though the mainstream comic book industry is unfortunately no stranger to raw deals and talent neglect, Marvel Comics has a particular love for screwing over creators, particularly when it comes to making literal billions upon billions off their work, and then denying them any proper financial compensation. It happened with Rocket Raccoon creator Bill Mantlo. Yeah, that's right. With late Spider-Man 2099 visionary Peter David, and now it's Miles, not Mile. Morales co-creator Sarah Pacelli. The Italian comic book artist who not only co-created the second Ultimate Spider-Man ahead of his debut in Ultimate Fallout Volume 1, Number 4, but also penned the first arc of his subsequent Ultimate Comics All-New Spider-Man Volume 1 solo series, spoke to her unfortunate treatment by Marvel while speaking with reporter Gabriel Matos, representing the Brazilian language. Marvel-centric news outlet Jameson's site, ostensibly named after the Daily Bugle proprietor J. Jonah Jameson, during the recent CCXP comic convention in Sao Paulo, beginning on a rather optimistic note, the conversation opened with a trip down memory lane, with Matos asking Pacelli, "So, when you and writer Brian Michael Bendis created the character, did you have a sense that it would become this cultural phenomena that it has?" To which she laughed, "No way." I was positive because it was a very great story. I love the character, the human side of the character. It's very different from the original one. Not really. That's kind of the problem. It would have been better if there was even more differences rather than just, appearance. But anyway, and that could be a good thing, just to break and do something different. But no, we couldn't expect what was going to happen. And I was happy that we had no expectations about it, because it would have been too much pressure, So I was more like lighthearted. I was lighthearted working on it. It was just a good job and a good gig. From there, Matos turned the conversation to the initial controversy surrounding Miles' reveal, asking his guest. The announcement sparked a lot of theories and some backlash from parts of fans. How did you respond to the narrative at the time? People were even theorizing you were inspired by Obama and things like that. I think it predated the Obama deal a little bit. Anyway, to this, Pacelli replied, "I remember that time. It was a bit shocking in the beginning because people were assholes just for asking that. Actually, they were. I could feel the hate." Yeah, it was an alternate universe thing. I don't think there was that big of a deal about it, Now they're pushing for him to replace Peter Parker. That's not going to go well. Anyway, met with the commiserating exclamation from Matos, and for nothing, Pacelli noted, not nothing, it was racism. It had a very specific name. I was like, what the fuck? That's the feeling, like, really? We should be grateful for this. Something is bringing a voice that wasn't there before. But no, of course. Okay. To this, Matos observed, "I think he became even a huge symbol for black people." Not really. That they can be included in the space. They were. There's several black superheroes, but when you take one that's got to be the black hero that takes a hand-me-down from some white character, don't you see the problem in that? Black Panther, excellent. Luke Cage, spot on. You understand? They're original. Maybe the young people saw the potential for that. Comics is a small part, and even smaller today than it was then. And maybe young people don't read comics. Not really. Not anymore. And it was on this mention of Miles' non-comic media presence that the bleak reality of Marvel's legal dealings reared its ugly head, with Matos inquiring with Pacelli as to whether she receives a portion of that monetarily, and the artist simply balking, "I wish I would be a billionaire." I don't think you'd be a billionaire, but it's a nice supplement, But I don't. The saddest part of my life. Drawing astonishment from her host, who in turn exclaimed, "We should start an online campaign." Pacelli ultimately pleaded, "Please do. A political campaign. Pay us." It's a lot of merchandising. Not really. But, there was some money to be made off of those cartoons that Sony did. It's probably their most successful, other than that one Venom movie, But anyway, as with Mantelo and David and many, many others before her, Bocelli's situation may be morally and ethically unsound, but it's sadly completely legal, as Marvel Comics employs a work-for-hire model whose terms dictate that any concept, character, or story created while under contract for them becomes the sole property of the publisher. Especially with, derivative characters. That's getting a little harder to deal with, Further, said contracts do not hold any guarantees to royalties, but rather offer the opportunity for writers and artists to receive incentive payments in the case their work blows up, which unfortunately hold no guaranteed level of pay or promise of insurance, instead being completely up to Marvel's discretion. So what do you think they decided? Yeah. And she's a good artist. Yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway, however, as noted before, legally correct is a far, far different qualification than morally or ethically correct. And given the insane amounts of money and cultural currency Marvel rakes in from Miles' various appearances, not so much anymore, but I take the point. From across the Spider-Verse to Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man line. Hell, even Spidey and his amazing friends does gangbusters for the preschool demographic. It's exceptionally clear that it's high past time for these publishers and corporations to find some semblance of a soul and give the creators whose work they profit from their just dues. Well, don't hold your breath. Every now and then something comes along, the Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster getting a pension when the Superman movie came out way back in the 70s, and that was a campaign from Neil Adams because they were living in poverty and stuff like that. So, oh boy, that wasn't going to look too good. So, yeah, all right. But were they obligated legally to pay them a pension? No. Those guys sold Superman at the time for very little. No one knew that it would become this giant, iconic pop culture entity, But it did. There's always risk and whatnot. And they were looking for some chance to break in, mostly comic strips at the time and all that. But whatever, you roll the dice, and, well, there it goes. And then they tried to sue them, and they just said, yeah, okay, you're fired. And that was that, yeah. Well, it's a sad story, Yeah. But it repeats. And, they're just going to want to do their own thing. Because they own it, That's too bad. It is. But like they said, legal obligations and whatnot. Yeah. All right, there we go. No super tips. Okay. So, Happy New Year. I hope you have fun with whatever get-togethers that you'll have, watching fireworks and whatnot. Hopefully, I can make an appearance at Pop Culture Breakdown over at Doomcock. He's going to do the show. And then hopefully still I can pop over to Pat Dixon's show. So I'll be around. Surely I'll be around. Anyway, thanks for watching. And I don't know, I'll do something sometime. And I'll see you then. Yeah, that's usually how that goes. I'm tired. I've been up all night. So I'm going to take a little rest. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Enjoy the rest of your day for this New Year's Eve as we say goodbye to 2025.